When Queen Camilla stepped into the glittering expanse of the state dining room, she expected the absolute deference universally afforded to her title. Instead, she was met with a staggering visual humiliation that fundamentally altered the balance of royal power. Her customary place setting, traditionally located at the absolute center of the sovereign axis, had been quietly shifted down a tier. In her place, occupying the immediate focal point of the room, stood Catherine, the Princess of Wales, radiating an effortless authority and wearing the most iconic sapphire and diamond jewels of the late Queen Elizabeth. In that single frozen moment, as Camilla realized her direct instructions to the Palace Protocol Office had been silently completely ignored, the crushing reality of her position became undeniable. This is the story of a secret power grab gone disastrously wrong. An administrative ambush that exposed the fragile temporary nature of her reign. By the end of this video, you will understand the exact mechanics of how Camilla attempted to monopolize the royal diary, how Prince William and Catherine uncovered the manipulation and the silent, ruthless retaliation that proved the Queen Consort actually owns no institutional power at all. To understand the severity of this silent institutional erasure, we must first examine the immense illusion of absolute power that Camilla had spent 30 years meticulously constructing. For decades, her life had been a masterclass in psychological endurance and public relations warfare. She had successfully transitioned from being a polarizing shadow in Charles's life to the anointed Queen Consort, systematically attempting the institutional erasure of Princess Diana's enduring legacy. With the crown finally on her head, Camilla believed she had reached the untouchable summit of the British class system. But her sense of invincibility grew dangerously unchecked when King Charles was forced to step back from public duties due to his health. Viewing this not as a tragedy, but as a strategic vacuum, Camilla stepped into the void. She began to operate as the de facto monarch, moving through state functions with an air of total command. She believed that her husband's reliance on her made her the ultimate gatekeeper of the crown, assuming that the ancient machinery of the palace would automatically bend to her will, but the illusion of absolute power always shatters when it collides with the cold, immovable reality of the line of succession. The trigger for this crisis was a desperate, high-stakes maneuver driven by Camilla's acute awareness of her own temporary relevance. Knowing that her status relies entirely on Charles's survival, a sense of commercial desperation began to influence her decisions. She realized that she needed to cement her legacy and secure her family's social elevation before the reign ended. To achieve this, Camilla initiated a secret plan to take total control of the royal diary, the master schedule that dictates the visibility, funding, and global prestige of every working royal. What appears to be true is that her office began quietly manipulating the engagement matrix, deliberately assigning high-profile, historically significant state duties to herself while attempting to sideline the Princess of Wales with minor, geographically isolated charity visits. It was a silent bureaucratic campaign designed to visually marginalize Catherine, ensuring that Camilla remained the sole matriarchal figure of the monarchy. It was a staggering exploitation of her temporary position, an attempt to rewrite the visual hierarchy of the royal family. What Camilla fundamentally misunderstood was the quiet, lethal efficiency of Prince William and the uncomplaining, fierce discipline of Catherine. William does not view the monarchy as a popularity contest. He views it with the cold discipline of a future sovereign protecting the integrity of the crown. What viewers noticed was a sudden, unexplained shift in the royal calendar. But behind closed doors, a forensic institutional counterattack was already underway. During a routine cross-departmental review of upcoming state engagements, William's administrative team uncovered the subtle paper trail left by Camilla's scheduling office. The manipulation of the royal diary was undeniable for William. This was not just a scheduling dispute, it was a profound moral outrage. It was a direct calculated attack on his wife, a blatant attempt to diminish the future queen, and a profound disrespect to the institutional stability that Catherine provides. William and Catherine did not respond with leaked tabloid anger. There were no shouting matches in the corridors of Buckingham Palace and no dramatic briefings to friendly journalists. Instead, they used the weaponization of administrative protocol to execute a devastating and silent retaliation, leveraging his constitutional authority as the Prince of Wales, and backed by the most senior officials within the Privy Council. William quietly overhauled the authorization matrix for the royal diary. In a matter of days, the administrative framework supporting Camilla's private scheduling initiatives was entirely dismantled. Her office was stripped of the authority to dictate the movements of the Prince and Princess of Wales. When Camilla attempted to call the scheduling directors to demand answers, her calls were no longer patched through to the decision makers. They were politely diverted to administrative voicemails. The access she thought she commanded had been legally and permanently revoked. When Camilla arrived at the state banquet that evening, the altered seating arrangement was not a mistake. It was forensic proof of shifting power. That detail matters because it represents the exact moment the trap snapped shut. Standing there looking at Catherine, who was comfortably wearing the physical weight of royal history. Camilla was forced to face the cold institutional retaliation of the future king and queen. The realization was paralyzing. She had fought for 3 decades to control the narrative, only to discover that she was entirely trapped within a system that was already moving past her. Every schedule she had tried to alter, every subtle protocol she had tried to manipulate, had been turned into a weapon against her. She was the Queen Consort, but as she looked across the room at the true future of the monarchy, the terrible truth washed over her. She controls no real assets, she commands no true constitutional authority, and she can be completely erased from the center of power by the quiet, unified front of William and Catherine. As the state banquet commenced around her, the true psychological climax of this institutional war unfolded in plain sight. Camilla, still reeling from her public demotion, sought the eyes of King Charles, silently demanding that he intervene and correct the perceived insult. She expected the king to halt the proceedings, to subtly instruct the equerries to rearrange the room, and to reassert her absolute authority over the royal court. But what she received instead was a devastating silence. Seated at the head of the table, burdened by his health and the immense weight of the crown, Charles deliberately avoided her gaze. He did not issue a correction. He did not reprimand his son. By choosing to do nothing, the king implicitly surrendered to the new order. His silence was not merely a refusal to cause a scene, it was a cold, pragmatic acknowledgement that William and Catherine now controlled the functional machinery of the monarchy. Charles recognized that his duty was to the stable transition of power, not to the PR ambitions of his wife. He would not and could not save her from the institutional discipline of the Prince of Wales. This moment of public surrender exposed the profound commercial desperation that has driven Camilla's recent maneuvers. To the outside world, she is a woman cloaked in majesty, the ultimate victor in a 30-year social war. But behind the palace gates, her reality is terrifyingly fragile. She possesses no sovereign assets, no independent royal funding, and no constitutional mandate. Her only currency is visibility. By attempting to monopolize the royal diary, she was desperately trying to manufacture a sense of indispensability, hoping to leverage the crown's prestige to elevate her non-royal children before her husband's reign concludes. But William's silent administrative blockade proved that the institution will not be used as a promotional vehicle for the Parker Bowles family. When her ability to control the royal schedule was stripped away, her entire strategy collapsed. She realized that without the institutional machinery backing her, she has no ability to project power or secure her family's future within the sovereign landscape. As Camilla's influence recedes, a new era is being forged with undeniable clarity, defined entirely by the restoration of Catherine and the enduring legacy of Princess Diana. What looked like a simple seating adjustment at a banquet was actually a total dismantling of Camilla's empire. Throughout this power struggle, Catherine has never engaged in the frantic, behind-the-scenes scrambling that characterized Camilla's tenure. Instead, Catherine moved with an uncomplaining sacrifice and a quiet majesty that captured the absolute loyalty of the institution. When she stood at the center of the state dining room, she did not need to demand authority. The institution naturally organized itself around her. The sapphire and diamond jewels she wore were not merely decorative. They were a calculated visual statement of continuity. They signaled to the room and to the world that the bloodline of the future is secure, and that the true matriarch of the Windsor dynasty has already taken her place. Every subtle shift in palace protocol now points to an undeniable truth: the era of Camilla's absolute influence has ended. The administrative architecture of the monarchy has walled her off, strictly managing her appearances to ensure she never overshadows the future king and queen. The illusion of absolute power has vanished, replaced by the rigid reality of a constitutional countdown. Camilla successfully navigated the treacherous path to the coronation chair, but the very institution she thought she had conquered has ultimately used its own ancient, bureaucratic mechanisms to neutralize her. She is a queen who has discovered the profound isolation of her title, forced to navigate the remainder of this reign, knowing that her authority, is entirely transactional and strictly temporary. Thank you for watching. If you found this forensic analysis of the royal family's shifting power dynamics compelling, please consider subscribing to the channel and sharing your thoughts on Catherine's silent triumph in the comments below.